Is Cardano dead? This is one of the latest kind of FUD pieces of, I guess, news or statement narrative that is being spewed out there in the crypto space right now. And I think it's important that we debunk some of this noise that's kind of going on in the space around Cardano, specifically the ADA coin, and actually go through and cut through what's actually going on in the space so you guys can be more informed over what is actually going on with Cardano versus some of the noise and, you know, just complete nonsense that's kind of out there in the space at the moment for Cardano. So as we get into this, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right. With all that said, done, and out of the way, let's jump down to the desktop and actually start talking about what's going on here with Cardano and what's actually kind of being said out there in terms of the narrative that you're probably hearing from many different influencers in the space. Okay, guys, so here we are on CoinMarketCap, and we're just going to start here by referring to what is going on most recently, which is the most obvious thing that most people on YouTube are kind of talking about or are wanting to know, you know, what's going on with the price action of ADA, right? And yes, we've dropped down to $1.62. Okay, so it wasn't all too long ago that we reached the all-time high of $3.10. And now we're seeing, you know, some significant kind of pullback, right? And this has a lot of people concerned, but this is also compounded by some, you know, just complete blatant disregard for facts out in the space, right? There's a lot of people in the space, you know, telling you that Cardano's dead. There's nothing built on it. It's not worth the market cap that it has, you know, currently. And there's a lot of this stuff that's just simply misguiding you. And they might be trying to get you to, you know, forget about ADA to maybe, you know, prioritize a different smart contract platform. And, you know, it's entirely up to you to do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor, but what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you exactly as it is, as I see it. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it in any way. That's the good and the bad, okay? And with Cardano, I'm super bullish on it, okay, for one. I don't think it's dead, and I'm going to go through why I don't think it's dead. And I guess two, you know, why I'm not selling Cardano in favor of another smart contract platform, and I definitely wouldn't be going near something like Solana personally, okay? And that's mainly driven the fact there's just too many billionaires in the space on that one, that they're just waiting for their vesting to kind of come to an end so that they can dump those bags on you. And I definitely don't want that to be me in that situation. So I'm not going near Solana. For me, Solana was done at $185. At $185, I was done with Solana. Chris is still invested though, for clarity. He's still invested in Solana, which is fine. That's his prerogative, as it is yours if you're invested in there. I don't hate on Solana, but for me personally, I think the risks are higher now than they have been previously, and therefore I'm out of it. I'm not concerned with Solana, and I wouldn't be selling Cardano to chase those green candles. That would just be a very foolish move, in my opinion. Okay, so let's get that out of the way right now. In terms of some of the other things that you're hearing out in the space, and that is, you know, Cardano is dead, right? Or that's the latest narrative. This kind of goes on the back of it's a ghost chain, when that noise didn't work, because obviously it isn't a ghost chain. There's a lot going on in this ecosystem. That was the first thing you used to hear quite a bit. You know, Cardano, they never get anything on time. There's delay after delay after delay. Then it was followed up by it's a ghost chain. And then that's been followed up by it's not worth the market cap that it has. And now, obviously, you have the next narrative, which is it's dead. It's a dead project, right? So let's start at the very beginning. Cardano. Well, sure, you want to call it delays. I actually call it achieving something, okay? And things take time to actually deliver. And if there are delays, those delays are explained, but most of the time, actually, they've kind of been very open, transparent about what's being created, how long these things take, and when they actually do put it out there, it works as intended. Okay, so let's just scrap that one. It's just noise in the space in general. So the second one, it's not worth the market capitalization that it has. Well, this is another piece of noise that doesn't really make a lot of sense. One, market cap doesn't represent value, okay? It only represents price. And when you actually understand what market cap is and what market cap isn't, this is very, very clear, right? So here we obviously have the market cap of $53 billion, right? And that is calculated by taking the last sold price. So whenever something sells, it's the last sold price multiplied by the circulating supply. It does not represent value, right? And for me, it would be much higher if it did represent value, because I think this is an incredibly cheap ADA coin. It's under the value I think that Cardano is actually worth, right? Personally. And that's how investments work. You whether ascertain whether something is overvalue or undervalue. I would say that Solana is overvalue and Cardano is undervalued, and therefore I'd be investing in Cardano and not in Solana personally as an investor, right? So market cap, it doesn't represent value, okay? It represents price. Those are two very different things. Don't get them confused. And when people say it's not worth the market cap, it's got nothing built on it, it's completely garbage, noise that makes very, very little sense. One, it just shows they don't understand market capitalization and what it is and what it isn't in the crypto space. And two, they obviously haven't done enough research to know what's built and what is not built on the ecosystem, right? And we'll get into more of that in a moment. So you can scrap that one, that's noise as well. Ghost chain, coupled with that, again, noise because things are built on the ecosystem and it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And therefore, ghost chain is kind of FUD and it's noise, it's gone, it's dealt with. Now, so the next narrative, it's dead, right? That's the next one that we keep hearing. It's in the comments all the time. Is Cardano dead? Is Cardano dead? Cardano is dead, etc., etc., etc. And we can expand on this a little bit. So here is a Cardano block explorer. And here are your transactions per epoch. Okay, so an epoch or an epic, these are 5 days, okay, for Cardano. And we can see that we're approaching the 1 million transactions for the current epoch. Okay, we had basically 500,000 here in the previous epoch, over 1 million in the epoch before that, 500,000 in the epoch before that, and 390 before that, right? So we can see that these are progressively growing in transactional volume, but this is a fraction in comparison to what is going to happen in the future, and that will become clearer as I get through this video, right? So the transactions per second, they're okay. For the epochs, they're okay. They're indicating that there are things going on this ecosystem. It is not dead because there's transactions. If you would say that something was dead, that would imply that there is absolutely nothing going on there and there's absolutely zero transactions, right? Which is obviously noise. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical, and therefore it can't be trusted, right? And again, we refer back to that in a moment, right? So we can see here that there's things going on the ecosystem, right? There are transactions per epoch. Now, as we come across, here's the ecosystem. This is actually quite an old map, but it gives you a bit of a flavor as to what's actually on the ecosystem as a whole, right, so far, and things continuously build. What is not really being shown here are the projects that are planning to migrate from the Ethereum network over to the Cardano network, which if we refer right back to the beginning of the year, over 100 companies are looking at that migration, let alone all the projects that are building as well. So we do have, these various different kind of protocols that are building on the ecosystem. We have Traveler on there. We've got Meld, who have been on the channel. We've got CubeCoin. They're on here as well. They've been on the channel. There's Sunday Swap, Charlie 3. You've got Liquid up there as well. ErgoDex. Some of these names you'll be very, very familiar with. These are a lot of various things being built on the ecosystem, right? ADA Finance, for example. MinSwap. Obviously over here we obviously have the explorers and the ability to discover what's going on the Cardano ecosystem. Here's a list of exchanges as well. So everything from Coinbase, Binance, KuCoin, Celsius, Nexo. There's a lot going on here, and more. As I said, I don't think this is actually out of date to a degree. So do expect there to be more on here in the future if this ever gets updated. We also have, the ability to learn and build using various different tools. Yes, Solidity is also on the list because they have an EVM sidechain. The Plutus, which we'll get into that more in a bit of detail later. The deadliest wallet is your transfer methods and wallets. Your Ori, obviously, Ledger, Trezor, and so forth, right? ADA Light Wallet. You've got so many different NFT platforms as well, right, on the ecosystem. We can shoot on up here as well. You've got various things here like Vent Finance as well, Card Starter, Project Catalyst, you'll be familiar with. We also have Connect and Cooperate section here, Empower. We've got Hyperledger, SingularityNet, Ergo, Coty's on this list as well. World Mobile. There's a huge number of different players in the space just in this section. Over here, we obviously have the research and the innovate section, which is obviously all the universities. Obviously, what's going on with various different countries as well. So Ethiopia's on that list, for example. So this is a start of an ecosystem, right? It's not huge, it's not massive yet. But this is definitely not a dead protocol when you have so many things actually going on on this protocol. And we also caught up with Dr. 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗀 from 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀, who actually helps clarify the differences between the Ethereum network and the Cardano network, and how it is actually easier to write secure code on Cardano than it is to write secure code with Ethereum. It's actually easier to write insecure code on Ethereum than it is secure. Okay, so these are the things you need to know and understand when it comes to Cardano, right? Not the noise of people who are uneducated and unwilling to actually expand their knowledge on a protocol, but instead just spout nonsense at you. Okay, so it's important that you do your own research. I cannot stress it enough. We say this every stream. Don't just take my word for it. Dig into it, research it. Dive in, and you'll be impressed by what you find, I believe. Now we can go a bit further, right? Smart contracts is the other thing that we've heard. It doesn't even have smart contracts. Yes, it does. On the 12th of September, smart contracts went live. Now, what they're really referring to in the uneducated way is they haven't done enough research to know what's actually preventing these projects from launching. Because it's not the smart contracts that are preventing projects launching on the ecosystem. If you wanted to, you could write a smart contract. It's just not standardized. It's not necessarily easy to do. Straight off the bat. Instead, you have to do a lot of code in writing those smart contracts today. But that's going to get easier, and it gets easier with the Plutus application backend, the PAB. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but this is basically what everyone is waiting for. Once this goes live, this allows the developers to basically launch smart contracts and their smart contract dApps in a standardized way, which means they don't have to write everything from scratch. They can use standardized components to basically speed up the process and basically make their dApps a lot more secure in actually executing those smart contracts. So this is what we're waiting for. This is what is preventing the likes of Meld or 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗧, 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗧 from launching on the ecosystem, right? And these are the things, this is the thing that ultimately is going to drive that next huge step in corrective action on the price of ADA, right? Because ultimately that's what so many people are interested in, right? Not necessarily what is being built, not what is going to actually happen in the real world as a result of what is being built, but they're focusing in on the fluctuations of ADA. And I do understand, right? As an investor, I get it. But again, being a short-term investor doesn't make sense to me. It's about the long-term vision. It's about changing the world for the better, and obviously having an ROI that's associated with it, right? Expecting instantaneous gains, after investing in a coin, like 1 week down the line, you're expecting to double your cash. Well, that's just absolute nonsense. That's not what goes on here. I know there's plenty of people who've been investing in all sorts of shite coins that have had those gains, but there are fewer winners and there's a hell of a lot more losers. Okay, so if your mentality is to make quick cash, then this space is definitely not something for you. Okay, go and focus in on all those absolute crap coins that aren't having or don't have any form of utility whatsoever, and they basically just pump on pure speculation alone. Those are the kind of coins for you if that's what your kind of bag is. If, however, you have a proper mindset, an investor's mindset, where you're happy to sit on something vested for, good 18 months, maybe even 24 or more, depending on what your long-term vision is. I know a lot of investors who don't have any intention of selling any ADA for a very long time to come, and instead have it delegated state, earning a nice passive income on their delegated earnings, on their holdings, right? So they can earn a nice steady return that way instead, right? And it's all about what your visions are, right? We have good expectations and aspirations for the price of ADA, sure. But again, for us, it's more about what's the longer term vision. We talk a lot on this channel about 2025, 2030. They're big milestones, not just for the adoption of crypto technology and basically the laying the foundation for governments to really be behind cryptocurrency as a whole, and the technology, the blockchain technology that actually underpins it all. That's where our vision is. It's all about trying to see where things are likely to go, where's the most probable destination for the technology that underpins all of those cryptocurrencies, including ADA. Now, ADA and Cardano and Charles Hoskinson, everything that they're doing is absolutely spot on from a strategic point of view. And ultimately, every decision that's being made, I can understand and I can verify. I would probably do something very similar if I were in that situation, right? And we can see that everything that is kind of going on with this ecosystem as a whole, and who's actually looking to partner up with it, what's looking to be launched on this ecosystem, the long term and the kind of future prospects of the price of ADA, in my opinion, is going to be significantly higher than what we see today. And for that, I'm perfectly happy to see these daily fluctuations, weekly fluctuations the way that they are, because the longer term vision still is there for me. Nothing fundamentally has changed. All you have is a load of noise in the space. And then speaking of noise, you also have the eToro noise as well. Okay, and this is obviously, eToro delisting Cardano's ADA and Tron, and for US users, right? And that's exactly it. And if we just shoot down to the tweet down here, because this has made me laugh, ultimately Cardano got listed on Bitstamp that does over 500 billion in volume a day, but got delisted from the tiny eToro exchange that does 67 billion. And it was only for the US guys as well. It's still available, I believe, everywhere else. And you didn't hear about that. You didn't really hear about Bitstamp. All you heard was it was getting taken off to eToro because there's so much noise and negativity and negative sentiment in the space for Cardano right now, which obviously helps, people who want to dollar cost average a better position in ADA a fair bit. So let's hypothetically say there are people who want to bring the price of ADA down so that they can get in and get a big position in it and basically shaking out retail investors. Sure, you can see that kind of thing happening. But furthermore and beyond that, I think actually the move is more about removing competition from some of these places as well, right? And I do think that Cardano is serious competition for many in the space, right? And like I said before, at the beginning of this video, there are billionaires who are invested in certain projects, who are vested, who bought these things in private sales at a very vastly discounted rate. And they are just waiting to stop that vesting period. Once that token gets released to them, they are going to drop it on the market. They don't care about the underlying technology. They don't care about the coin. They don't care about the retail investors. They only care about the bottom line. And I'm not going to be invested in a coin or a project that has that kind of mentality or those kind of investors associated with it. I know that Bitcoin has a lot of heavy hitters. I know that Ethereum does as well. I do have very, very small positions in both of those, not making up a portfolio on those particular coins. They don't actually get you much an ROI. The percentage yields on them are tiny in comparison to where the altcoin market. And if we choose the right altcoins with the right level of research associated with them, I don't think you're going to go too far wrong. Now, when we actually take a look at the price action here of ADA and we see the steady growth that we've been having here, I am concerned to a degree, okay? And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, like I said earlier. I'll give you the good and the bad. This deviation that we are seeing right now could be a deviation from the overall trend of our bull run, okay? Because we were tracking for 5 impulsive moves to the upside, Elliott theory, and we were looking pretty good. Okay, we were tracking pretty well here. We had the bottom, we pushed up, we had the pullback. I could understand the first pullback because everything moves in waves. This is now getting a bit steeper for my liking. It's not to say that we aren't going to go back up, because I'm very confident that the price of ADA is going to go and appreciate early 2022. Okay, I'm pretty confident it's going to be higher than where we are today. I think we're going to set a new all-time high. The only thing that concerns me is the direction or the percentage yields that we are likely to get after this deviation. Okay, so if we want to exit at the top of the bull run, which I think majority of people are trying to do, the trend of the bull run was indicating $11 for ADA. I don't think that is likely to occur now. I think we are likely to actually have a more conservative model heading in here at around that $7.22. Okay, again, still tracking to the upside, but that seems like a more comfortable area. Now, I would like to be wrong. I would like the bull run to stay on its trend that it has been tracking, along with that trend-based fib extension. However, at this point, with the deviation that we've seen, I think it's important that we should acknowledge and should accept some price deviations could also occur. And we should also prepare ourselves for maybe taking a slightly lower ROI on ADA before reinvesting in a bear market if that's what you want to do. As I said, there are many different types of investors, super long term, as in looking to hold it for 5 to 10 years, through to those who maybe want to trade it a bit more, sell it high, buy it low, and all of that kind of good stuff. For me and Chris, we're pretty much 50-50 on that. We run the Cardano pool, and of course we're going to keep everything pledged in there, delegated, and we're not worrying about it. We're long term, right? We're 5-10 years in the future. we don't care about that, right? But we also have a little bit of a play bag, which we do trading with, and that we'll probably look to kind of sell high, buy low, etc., right? And extend the position on Cardano in the bear market when the bear market comes. This seems like a pretty sensible thing to be doing, in my opinion. So just be mindful, guys, that there are some interesting price targets all over the interweb, right? Across different influencers talking about lots of different price expectations for Cardano. For me right now, this deviation is a deviation from trend, and therefore we should also align our expectations accordingly. As I often say on this channel, the bull run's about two things. One, manage your expectations, and two, manage your emotions. You do that and you're going to be absolutely fine. Guys, I am going to leave this video right there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.